Bwaaa!
Bwaaa trash fight all through the night, deep in the heart of Texas. The trailer park is nice and dark, deep in the heart of Texas. That drinks his brew and he spits his chew, deep in the heart of Texas. The TV blares, but no one cares, deep in the heart of Texas. Here we go!
Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to Bwaaa, King of the Hill Rewatch Podcast. I am Mike.
And I'm Rusty.
And we got a special guest. Rusty, you want to introduce?
Yeah, this is another guy I went to high school with. He's known in the area. His name is Giovanni the King. What's up, man? How you doing, bud?
What's up? And to be honest, when he sent me the text of the name of the podcast, I did not know what the actual name was. So
Wow.
now I know.
Yeah, Bwaaa, King of the Hill podcast.
It's a Hank thing.
Yeah, I just said, hey, you want to be on a
like
podcast? I didn't give him any details. He just said, oh, yeah, I'll be there.
Yeah. I mean, I like King of the Hill. I grew up on it.
Yeah. It's a great show. Okay, so we are dealing with Season 1, Episode 10 here, Keeping Up with Our Joneses.
Yeah, keeping up with our Joneses.
This is the infamous cigarette episode.
Yep, the infamous cigarette episode, April 27, 1997, air date.
You remember this one?
Yeah.
Where they smoke a bunch of cigarettes?
Yeah, he watched it
Yeah.
last
Oh, you
night.
watched it? Oh, good.
He at least knew what the premise of the show was.
I watched it.
Excellent. Okay.
So it's fresh on my mind, everything.
That's great.
Good deal.
All right, so we start in the Hill house with Hank griping about his grout.
Oh, yeah. He said that, what do you say? It's been 17, 18 years.
It's supposed to last,
it's
supposed
supposed
to
to
stay
something.
white
Yeah,
for 20
yeah.
years. It's only been 17, 18. Where's that receipt?
Where's that receipt?
That's right. So Luann comes barging in, and Hank freaks out because he's in the shower.
But he's fully clothed.
He is fully clothed,
Yeah, he's fully dressed,
as
though.
Peggy does point out. But she wants him to see Ladybird, who is all dolled up. She got that makeup all over.
Yeah, and then he goes, starts talking to her, making the dog feel good about
Who's a
herself.
pretty
Who's a
dog?
pretty dog?
That's right.
Yeah, and then he says she
Yeah.
looks like Fran Drescher.
He said, get this stuff off of her. She looks like Fran Drescher. You know who Fran Drescher is?
Yeah. I used to watch.
The nanny.
I used to watch her.
Yeah.
Her
the
laugh.
nanny. Yeah.
She was pretty hot.
She was just
yeah, she was hot.
on. I watch a show called Mr. Mayor on NBC. It's done by Tina Fey.
So that's her new show.
that show's pretty good.
She's not. She was just a guest star on it. This
Oh,
last
she was just a guest
episode,
star.
yeah.
Okay.
She was the sexy Depends lady.
Oh, okay. So she's that age now, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And she was
Wow.
dating the guys, that advertised for the blue pills. So it was
Oh yeah.
yeah. So Hank is very upset because Luann has barged in there to show him, and Luann is honestly pretty upset because of the dog eating all her makeup.
Yeah, her cruelty-free makeup too.
She bought the cruelty-free makeup, yeah, and so Peggy is trying to calm her down, says, calm down, just hit her on the rump with a newspaper next time. And she says, well, this is all, I spent all this money on cruelty-free makeup. I'll do more than
Yeah,
that.
I'm gonna do a lot more
than
than that.
tap.
That's right.
I felt that whenever
Right.
I was like, yeah, that's my dog all the way.
Yeah, eating on some makeup.
Eating everything.
All right, and then we're with Bobby and Joseph, and they are trying to build a car.
They're trying to build some kind of race car or something. Yeah, they're sitting in like I don't even know where this closet is where they're at. It's like off the side of a gas station or something. I
Yeah,
don't know.
it's
It looks
weird.
weird. It's like a weird scene.
It's almost like a
But,
men's room or something.
Yeah, and then he says
He found a spark plug.
found a spark plug. Yeah. Now
No.
all we need is 5 more of those, an engine, 4 wheels, and some kind of frame and a cassette
And
radio.
a cassette radio. That's right.
Yeah.
Bobby finds a cigarette, unsmoked cigarette. Joseph is very familiar with those. Are the ones that I believe Dale smokes, the Manitoba 100s.
Do you have a first cigarette story, Mike?
I used to smoke 3 packs a day.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a lot of cigarettes.
That's a lot of cigarettes.
Yeah.
Do you remember your first one, though?
Quit a little over 20 years ago.
Congratulations.
I feel like everybody should remember their first one. I remember my first one.
I don't really remember my
I don't.
first one. I know I snuck around for a long time.
Yeah.
My dad started noticing the little burn marks on my shirt.
I won't say my age. I was pretty young, but I remember we used to steal them from my friend's mom. We
Sure.
would go in and we would, because they were drinkers and they would have like 2 cartons, like a carton for each person. So we would just go in there and pluck a whole pack. And when they were drinking, and they would never even see it. So we would just grab cigarettes and we'd sit in the backyard and smoke till we were green. Like we didn't know you're supposed to just smoke one.
Right.
So we would sit there and smoke like 4 or
just
5
plow
of them
through
back
'em.
to back,
Yeah.
plow through them, and then we'd end up like puking it and going inside and thinking we were cool. So
Yeah, it's always cool when you puke. I don't know if you guys know this, but these are the official cigarettes of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police.
yeah, they got the on
right.
the pack of the cigarettes got the
That's
maple
right.
leaf on there.
That's right. So, like any kid, they're gonna try it and see what all the fuss is about. Bobby asked Joseph about whether he's ever had a cigarette, and he said no, just secondhand smoke. from my
Secondhand smoke
dad.
from his dad.
That's
Yeah,
right.
I've had a lot
That's
of
right.
that.
And then for some reason, Hank is there pulling on the door. Like you say, it's a weird little.
It's a real weird
thing.
situation because I don't even know
Yeah.
where they're at, what they're in, and then like Hank comes and he starts, is there someone in there? Is this
He
John
just catches
occupied?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Catches him with the cigarette right in his mouth. I mean, I at least would throw it on the floor or something.
yeah.
So now Bobby is in big trouble, being yelled at by Hank and Peggy. She asks if he wants to lose a lung.
Oh, hold on. Before that
Yeah.
part. Oh no, you're right. You're right
Yeah.
on track. Yeah.
Yeah, they're yelling at him pretty good because if he wants to lose a lung, there's another little boy out there that'd like to take it.
Take it in a second, yeah.
That's right.
And then Hank goes, "Didn't you read this? Cancer, heart disease, emphysema." And he goes, "I thought those were ingredients."
Those are
like-
the ingredients. That's right.
No, he's like, and then I just like how he just like looks at it like, what? Like,
Yeah.
like
Well,
I didn't
Peg-
do nothing wrong.
Peg wants him to know that she gave up smoking so he'd be free of birth defects, and this is how he repays her. I just thought that was very funny. As
Yeah, it was
yelling
good.
at somebody. So they go on about how it's a nasty, filthy habit, only trailer trash smoke, and that's not the best thing to say Luann around.
No, it's funny because she goes, "I don't smoke," and took off running.
She took off.
She just took off quick.
She goes, Luann, just because you grew up in a trailer and your mama's in prison doesn't mean you're trailer trash.
Yeah.
Hey, I felt that as a Belmedian.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah,
That's right. That's right. So Hank is going to do what my parents tried to do with beer with me. Is he's going to make him smoke all the cigarettes just so he's sick of it.
Oh, so they made you drink the whole 12-pack?
So they stopped and bought a beer and made me drink it in front of them because they thought I wouldn't like it.
Loved it.
And
Every
I
bit.
loved it.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, I really liked it, and that was not a great.
I don't think that ever works. The cigarette thing
I
or
don't
the
think
beer
it does
thing.
either.
My friend's mom made him eat a pack of cigarettes.
Now that'll work.
Eat
No, I
it?
didn't though. Yes, they made him physically eat a pack of cigarettes, and he puked it all up. But I don't think that. I think it worked for like a week, and then he was like, "Oh,
Well, yeah, he didn't eat any cigarettes for a week.
for a
Yeah,
week."
he-
Yeah. He
I'm
was done
done
eating.
doing
Yeah.
that.
He
So-
tried milk on him the next time, like a bowl
Sure,
of cereal.
sure, yeah.
Cigarette O's.
Manitobos.
Yeah, there you go,
He
Manitoba.
just started dipping. He just started
Yeah.
dipping out of nowhere.
Man, I tried that one time. I just couldn't.
That's how I quit
couldn't
smoking
dip,
cigarettes,
and
to be
I
honest with
couldn't chew. That just.
That's how I
couldn't
quit
do it,
smoking.
man.
So I went from cigarettes, and I was like, "Well, I gotta stop these." So I bought a can of dip for a week, and I was like, "I'm done."
I
And
just got
me off of
all
it.
my friends would
Gross.
like leave like Dr. Pepper bottles everywhere, just
Full of spit,
dip,
full of- yeah.
come on.
It's gross.
piles up. Yeah,
Yeah.
Ugh.
It really is
Just couldn't
gross.
do it.
You got the cup with the paper towel at the bottom of it and stuff.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, you're at your uncle's house and you go to grab what you think is
Yeah.
your sweet
Yeah.
tea and you're not paying attention.
That's what I'm saying. It's
Swing
always
it. Sip
like
cup,
you
yeah.
grabbed it and it don't feel the same. You're like, oh, this is
Yeah, that's spit.
Yeah.
Yeah, God forbid you're drunk and you drink it anyway.
Oh.
So Bobby's being yelled at his house, and now we go over to Joseph's house where Dale is telling him that he needs to make an informed decision about these cigarettes. Don't be so fast.
Yeah, and then he pulls out government document. He said you can read a government document on cigarettes, and then he grabs the other one. And it's like a pop-up book
He
from
said
the cigarette
tobacco
company.
He
industry,
said
yeah.
you can read it straight,
Yeah.
straight from the horse's mouth. Right here. And then it's like coming all out.
So
Yeah.
we're to the point where Hank is making Bobby smoke all these cigarettes, and Hank's biggest gripe is the fact that he holds his cigarette like a European.
Yeah, he's holding a cigarette all funny and stuff like that. And then he says, well, we're holding it like some kind of European Nazi in a
That's
movie. Yeah.
Whatever you do, you should do it right, even if it's something wrong.
Yeah, he said, because Bobby was like, well, why does it matter how I hold a cigarette? Yeah.
Yeah, and there's several times in this episode where Hank either does or says some things that are very un-Hank. One of the things is when he gripes at Bobby about hotboxing. That just doesn't seem like that ought to come out
that
of
was
Hank's
funny.
mouth.
You're over there hotboxing. Takes it from him and shows him how to inhale it real
Shows him
slow.
how to smoke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he was like, he goes to get the cigarette back from him. He's like, no, wait a minute. Let me show you one more time.
He says, so he starts showing him, and then he's put your thumb under it, to flick it and stuff. He goes, but of course smoking's wrong for you, so you'll have to try that with a dowel.
It was funny what he said though, because he was like, wow, pretty keen, huh?
Pretty
After he flipped the
keen.
cigarette.
That's right.
Like he's talking to like he's in the 70s again.
Yeah, and
He felt cool.
he did. Feel
He
cool.
felt super cool. It was kind of a cool trick. Flipping it up and then catching it with your mouth.
But I feel like in other episodes, he doesn't really, like you said, he doesn't really act like this way. He goes back to I guess it's younger stuff.
Yeah, he's a
like,
different
he
person
does.
in this.
Yeah, there's some
He starts-
episodes where he starts to see like glimmer of his youth, and he starts to kind of cling to that a little bit.
Yeah,
some
he's
episodes.
finessing a lot in this episode.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
So it works on Bobby because he's got to puke. So Bobby pukes everywhere, and Hank's response to that is, when you finish, you want to get that with a hose.
I like that.
So
Yeah, he pukes everywhere and makes him clean it up. Yeah.
the next thing we see is Hank and boys out in the alley, and Hank is regaling them with how he raises the boy the right way. He says it's like fixing a radiator. You don't talk it into working right. You have to take it out back and flush
Flush
it.
it clean.
That's right.
Flush
You gotta
it clean.
flush
I like it.
That's right.
And then that's when you see all the water running down by his feet from
Yeah.
Bobby cleaning
That's
the
right.
puke up. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, and now we're starting to see the effects that these cigarettes are having on Hank, because he's snapping at Peggy.
He gets irritable with Peggy, which he does always get irritable with Peggy, but not in the same, not in this way. Not in this way. He's usually a lot nicer about it, but he was like, she said, well, what's wrong? Hey, why do you always ask me that? Just grumpy as hell, having a nick fit.
He said, don't worry about Bobby. I took care of it. And she goes, oh, my God, how could you do that? He's just a little boy. You're going to stunt his growth, and he's going to stay that way.
Yeah.
That was fun.
So they go to sleep. Here's one thing that I noticed in all of the smoking, like we get the close-up on Bobby, we get the close-up on Hank smoking and stuff like that. And you tell me, maybe I'm wrong, but in episodes past and episodes forward, I don't hear a lot of the accompanying music like in this one. It feels like a Peanuts cartoon.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, it's got that jazz kind of weird music in
There
there.
is some episodes that use some weird little background music,
Yeah.
but it's very few and far in between. That's why you can't really recall
This
it.
one was odd
Yeah.
because it was like there was a lot of that where there was no speaking. It was just people smoking.
Just
and
people
stuff.
smoking, yeah.
Yeah. So now we see Hank sneaks out and grabs one. Bobby's on the side of the house grabbing one. So everybody's smoking at this point, with the exception of Peg. I guess Peg hasn't started smoking yet. So they go to sleep. Hank goes to smoke. Bobby's smoking. And then the next thing we see is they're all kind of, Bobby and Hank are kind of jonesing. They're jonesing for some cigarettes.
Yep, the
right?
Joneses.
Yeah. Their Hank has used the label maker to put labels on absolutely everything. He's tried to use up all his time. Bobby is just flat out shaking at this point.
Yeah.
Because he needs a cigarette.
Like it's crack or something.
And then now we meet Enrique for the first time.
Yeah, this is the first time you meet him. And Enrique is later, I think, voiced by Danny Trejo.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think he's voiced by Danny Trejo at this
He's
point.
not at this point. Yeah, this is a different voice.
From 97 to 98, it was a guy named Eloy Casados.
Okay.
And then Danny Trejo takes over from 03 to 2010 all the way to the end of the show. So there's like a gap where there is no Enrique.
Yeah.
So between 98 and 2003, there's no episodes
We
with
get
Enrique.
a little bit of a gap.
Danny,
where there's,
that's Machete, right?
yeah.
Yeah, Machete.
I met him once. He
Oh,
was
really?
cool.
Yeah,
he was
that's
really
pretty cool.
Did he try to hit you with a
No,
machete?
he was downtown Austin, and then like these people, some dudes ran up to him and tried to take a picture, and then he just looked and was like,
Yeah.
"No, you don't need to do that." and then the guy, like, everybody moved, and it was like he didn't even really say it. He just looked at him and was like,
He's got that look.
"Yeah, he has a certain look,"
Definitely.
and it was
Yeah.
so like I was like, "Man, that's a real dude right there."
So
For a fun fact about the Eloy guy, he
Yeah.
was actually born in East LA in the jail scene.
really?
In the jail scene with Cheech Marin, when Cheech Marin's in jail.
Yeah.
Wow.
He's in that scene or whatever.
cool.
So he's actually a pretty
he's like a character actor.
character actor. Yeah.
So we have a conversation with Enrique and Hank where Enrique tells him how hard it's been since NAFTA made all the pinata jobs go north.
Yeah, all the pinata.
And so Hank wants to meet his family, and he wants Hank to meet his, all of that.
He said, "I like your
I
stories.
like your stories
I like
about
your stories about
piñatas.
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 He's like, anything you got to say involving cigarettes, as long as
That's
you got
right,
the
that's it.
cigarette here, I'm
I don't care.
totally
Yeah,
with
he's
it.
there with
And
it.
so Peg comes pulling up, and she's like, "Hey, honey, can you take a lunch break?" And he's freaking out because he doesn't want Peg to see the cigarette, so he's hanging it up. But here again is one of those very un-Hank things. He just flicks the cigarette, and Enrique has to save the day, keep it from blowing up.
Yeah.
That's not a Hank thing. He doesn't
It's really
flick
not.
stuff.
He don't flick
places.
stuff nowhere.
No. So we go back to Luann, and she is going after Ladybird because Ladybird's trying to eat her makeup again. And so she's got what I call a no-no can, right?
A no-no
So a
can.
no-no can is like when you take a coffee can and you put like a bunch of pennies in it or something, right?
Uh-huh.
And you wait for your cat or your dog to do something, then you go shake, 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 to scare the crap out of them.
Scared the crap out of him. Okay.
Yeah, so you got a no-no can and then you got the spray bottle.
Yeah.
Those are the two ways that everybody thinks they can train their
I
dogs.
thought you were
going
going to say you're going to throw a cup full of pennies at your cat or dog or something. I was like, damn, there was one way to shut it up.
if the rattle doesn't work, you just open it up.
Right
Uh, Peggy is very worried about the flesh-eating virus that's claimed another victim. But Hank tells her she just needs to relax, and sometimes you just gotta enjoy life for all its rich, mellow flavor. That's right. Yeah, and finally Hank lights up in front of Peggy, and she's like, "Oh my God, what are you doing?" He said there was one pack left from Bobby. Couldn't let him go to waste.
It's the
Couldn't
way
let him go to waste.
Yeah, it's the way he said it. It was like,
Yeah,
all
can't
right.
waste. Got to smoke them. You can't just throw a whole pack of cigarettes away.
So Hank is in it to win it at this point. He's just a smoker again, and he's pulling Peggy in. Tries to remind her, how great it was when they smoked together. And now we get the montage with what'd you say, Diana Ross?
No,
Roberta
Dionne
Flack?
Warwick.
Diana Warwick song.
Dionne Warwick. It was, what's the name of the song?
Get when you fall in love? And you get this whole thing of them playing putt-putt and just giggling and laughing and going on a roller coaster and the whole thing, but they've got cigarettes in their mouths the whole time.
Yeah, just like, they probably did when they were growing up,
Yeah.
I'll never fall in love again.
I'll never fall in love again. Yeah.
Dionne Warwick.
And they're just talking about how they used to have so much fun, and cigarettes were a part of that. And my favorite quote from Peggy in this entire thing is, "Oh boy, I feel alive with pleasure." That is
It's
very
almost
much
like a cigarette
that is
commercial.
very
It's
much
almost
a
like a
cigarette
cigarette
ad.
commercial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like how, when I was watching, I was like, their noses look different. Like they made their
Oh, yeah.
faces look
The
like
whole
a little
thing.
different.
Yeah.
They
They all
made-
look a little different. Yeah.
They change. We're back at the Hill House, and it's breakfast time, and Peggy is letting Hank know that there's a tile in the bathroom that really needs looking at. So Hank goes in there, and there's a lit cigarette already, so they're sharing one smoke in the bathroom.
I think it's funny how they're trying to hide the cigarette thing when the whole house at this point just reeks of cigarettes.
Yeah.
Like, if that cigarette is lit, they all
That's
know there's
what
a
I
lit
kept
cigarette.
thinking, right? Yeah, you would just smell it on him. Like, even when
Yeah.
Hank gets in the car with Peggy the first time, I'm like, well, she's going to smell the
She's
cigarette.
going to smell
on
the
him.
cigarette.
So they keep talking about the tile, and Bobby just blows up at this point because Bobby is an old man on the edge. He's like, "Will you stop talking about your stupid tile? If it's so dirty, clean it. And if it's clean, you can shut up."
Yeah. And then after that, it cuts to them talking about going somewhere to eat. And
And they're going to Smokies.
Smokies.
That's right.
That was
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's the
Old
one.
Smokies.
And they're all standing outside. They do the yep, mm-hmm. They do all that. That's one of those yep, mm-hmm.
While Bobby is taking a drag with a guy at a bus bench for some reason. He's like hiding behind a bus
He's
bench, and
he's
this
like-
guy's smoking, and he's like,
Yeah, trying to huff his secondhand smoke. Yeah.
Why is Bobby allowed to just run the streets and he's behind a bus bench somewhere?
Yeah, I don't know.
Sucking in this
it's
guy's
like
smoke.
being in some random closet smoking cigarettes with Joseph at a gas station,
That's
or
true.
whatever. That's
Yeah,
kind of odd
I
too.
guess so. Yeah, they go to Smokies, and Smokies is not the same place because Smokey died.
Hold on. Before we get to Smokies,
Yeah.
we got a Boomhauer deal. So Boomhauer's they're
Yeah,
sitting there
that's
smoking. And he's
funny.
like, y'all put that
He's
dang old thing out.
disappointed.
Yeah, he's pissed.
He's cool with Dale doing it,
But yeah, he's like, there's one too many cigarettes. He goes, y'all put that dang thing out. Y'all gonna light up like that, man. I'll treat y'all like a dang old junkie. Go messing up my head with that dang old secondary nicotine like that, man.
I just think it's that not that it's two people. I just think that it's not like nobody cares about what Dale does. So
nobody
they're
cares
just
about
like
Dale.
you know what I mean.
Well, you're not stopping
yeah, you know
Dale.
what I mean.
Yeah, you're not
It's
gonna stop
expected
him.
from Dale.
Yeah,
Hank's supposed to be like this, this good dude, this moral guy or whatever, and he's out there.
So he like snaps on him like he's the only real friend that he's got. Like you know what?
So we end up at Smokey's, and it's the same old Smokey's. When they walk in, the waitress comes up and they talk about seeing Smokey. She goes, "Oh, he's no longer with us. I'm sorry. Those last few years, it spread to his bones. Smoking or non-smoking?
Yeah, smoking or non-smoking.
Take him to the back room, and boy, those people are not in good shape in the back
yeah, it's
room.
bad. So they go back there, everybody's hacking. You got the dude with the trach or whatever.
And the
with his throat
non-smoking is
cut.
just clean and
bright.
bright. This is just brown.
They use the
and
lights
dark.
too, so they use the lighting on this episode. They made it all
cool.
dark and nasty, which kind of reminds me of that. I remember my parents were smokers, so all the way up until there was no non-smoking, we'd go to eat somewhere and we'd always have to go back to that smoking area, and it was just like it was like heavy in the air with thick with smoke. It was just like it just lingered at the top of the room.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, and then you go into these rooms like years later, and everything's yellow. And
It was like the Blue Bonnet Cafe in Belle Meade. Whenever they went to non-smoking or whatever, they had to go in. It was like traded hands a few times, and the next people that bought it, I went in and ate, and I was talking to them, and they were like, "Yeah, we had to clean all the duct work. We had to repaint the entire building. It was bad.
That tar gets everywhere." So we're back at the house, and Bobby is lighting up a cigarette under his blanket on his bed, which starts a fire, which makes the alarm go off, which brings Hank and Peggy into the room.
They come running in the room, and she says, "Do you know them?"
That's Luann.
That's Luann.
She comes busting in.
She's mad.
After they yell at him, and she says, "I can't believe you're all smoking. Don't you know that more people die of smoking than die in the war in Vietnam every day?"
Yeah, that was wild. Yeah, Vietnam been over for like 20 years at this point.
That's right. And then again, here's with one of those weird Hank things. He puts the cigarette out on the rug.
Yeah, he throws it down the ground and stomps
Hank.
it out. No, it's not Hank at all.
Not
especially,
inside.
Especially when he got pissed off in the previous episode for them throwing a party when they had all the repair guys fixing all the stuff they messed up.
So they figure out that they need to set a better example. They're going to quit smoking, and they're going to take Bobby with them. So they take him to Hotel Arlen, once again the home of all the prostitutes.
Pick your live one.
And they're there for cigarenders.
Yeah, cigarenders.
Cigarenders, which is a
Cigarette Anonymous, I guess.
Yes. Cigarette Anonymous, where everybody is known by name.
Funny name though, Cigarenders. I think it's a pretty funny name.
Bwaaa tries to fight all through the night, deep in the heart of Texas.
Yeah, the guy that's talking about the cigarenders, he says future non-smokers is what he calls everybody, which is great. Now take a look to your right. What do you see? Don't be shy. There are no wrong answers here. And somebody says, "I see a caring human being." He goes, "Nope,
nope, nope."
You see buddies for a better life. So Hank is again on edge. He hadn't had a cigarette in a while. He talks about having the strangest feeling that somebody's going to kick this guy's ass. And then just back and forth, with Bill there for some reason.
Well, Bill, this talks about how lonely Bill is, because you'll see throughout this show, he just pops up in places. There was specifically brings to mind one episode where there was a wheelchair that he met a guy that was in a wheelchair or something like that.
Yeah,
and then he goes and gets in a wheelchair to go
yeah.
play basketball with him, and people actually think he's crippled, but he's not. And he plays up on it.
Yeah.
Anything to fit in for Bill.
That's exactly right. Anybody that
he don't even smoke cigarettes, and he's at a Cigarette Anonymous class.
Well, he says
he just wants to talk about his problems.
Yeah. He says, "Hank, I know you think of me as a pretty together guy, but sometimes I need a little help."
Six nights a week
for 20 years.
Yeah.
That's right, yeah. So they all find buddies. Hank says he'd rather not. I like how Hank goes, well, look, you all found buddies. And Hank goes, "I'd rather not." And he goes, "I understand."
Yeah, and then this part is my favorite part. It's my favorite line of the whole movie, or the whole episode, where the guy goes, "It's not easy to admit we're weak." And then Hank goes, "You calling me weak? Look at your little birdie arms. They're no thicker than a cigarette. I could smoke them little arms up."
And so the cigarenders guy points out that it's so nice that you brought your son here with you to help support. It's great. You're going to support your daddy. He goes, "Oh, no, I'm a smoker too."
Yeah, and then everybody.
Oh, nobody's happy about that. He says, "How long you been addicted to cigarettes?" "Well, since my dad let me smoke a whole carton." So that's a way
Yeah.
to get the room on the wrong side at that point.
Oh yeah.
Everything just stopped for some reason. I don't know what happened.
It's like the lesson in it. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
It was like a moment where it was kind of like the forum was like back and forth.
Well,
like,
you know you got
Yeah.
a problem when Bill is asking to have a new buddy.
Oh yeah, you got a big problem. Everybody's looking at him like, oh
like-
dang, you let a kid smoke a cigarette?
Yeah, I like the writing at this point in this little section. Like the way it was structured, like was really cool to me. Like,
Yeah.
it was really, you know what I mean.
back and
it
forth
was like, yeah,
conversation.
you know what I
Yeah.
mean. It was like, it's cool.
So we're back at the Hank Hill house, and they're all sitting down to eat. And Bobby, he is really pissed off that his potato has skin on it.
Oh, he's
I think
mad.
I think at this point anything is just there to piss them off
Hold on.
because they're all ready to just smoke.
Hold on, before we get to Bobby, there was another deal where he tells him, "I'll tell you what you need to do. You need to take a 13 step down off your high horse. Here's to the three
talking to
bravest
the
individuals,
cigarenders guy.
all of
Yeah.
Arlen." Yeah, and then he tells them, "Here's to the three bravest individuals in all of Arlen, to the hills."
Well, and then Hank's like, "My God, are you still talking?"
Yeah, he's walking out the door. Yeah,
So we're back at pissed off Bobby with his potato. And then Peggy's like, I will not sit here and have my work insulted. What do you think? Those potatoes just fly into the bowls and mash themselves? So everybody is on the edge.
Yeah, they're
now.
all on edge.
They all need a cigarette.
They all need it.
Oh my God, they all need a cigarette. And here comes Luann with the no-no can whenever she sees Hank trying to light one up.
drop it.
Yep,
Yeah.
she's ready to squirt him or shake the pennies at him. And now they're like, okay, we got to get off these cigarettes. And so they buy a bunch of patches. They're all going to put on the nicotine patches. You ever tried one of those nicotine patches?
I've done the gum and I've done the patches, and
I did the gum.
Man, the patches made me sick. It was
Yeah.
like way too much nicotine, more than I was smoking from cigarettes. It just
Well, it's
seemed
like a
way
rash,
too powerful.
too. Like,
Yeah, it
it'll
left
give
like
you
a
a
little.
rash, you know,
It left
if
like a
you're
little red mark. And
You
it was
ever
kind of
smoke?
like itched.
No, I don't smoke
Yeah,
cigarettes.
I don't
Never.
blame
You didn't ever like.
I've like tried it to be
Yeah.
cool.
They're gross.
But you never had a habit of it, yeah.
My dad, he smoked like cartons.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so like he was a truck driver, so he smoked cartons on cartons.
Oh, yeah.
Like he would have all the bags, the Marlboro, everything. You know
Yeah,
what I'm
yeah, all the
saying?
gear,
Like,
yeah,
He
all
was
the
collecting
fits.
the points.
He collected
Yeah.
all the points. So like
I did that.
secondhand, it was just like I just couldn't
I have some
stand it.
camel gear for points.
I
have some old
used to
camel gear.
save the little camel bucks. Yeah, I remember I got a Sega Game Gear.
Wow,
that's
That's how much I smoked. I was
That's-
able to get a
Damn,
Sega
That's some
Game
heavy
Gear.
smoking.
Yeah, that is a lot
That's
of
a
smoking.
lot.
That's a lot of
Yeah,
like
that's a lot of smoking.
That's a lot of cutout.
Well, tell me
That
this.
is.
Tell me this. Why are they giving adults Sega Game Gears as presents?
That's pretty-
You know?
Oh, I don't know. I would have smoked 3
I
packs a day
mean-
for a Sega Game Gear when I was 8.
Right.
Well, I was 30.
I would have done it at. I
That's
would have done it
clever
at 8.
marketing.
I would have
That's
done
what
it at
that
8.
is.
I would have tried to smoke them up at 8. I would have been asking everybody for camel stuff. Well, because even with the Marlboro Miles, there was my friend's mom would have the magazine, and she'd be like, "Well, what do y'all want out of here?" kind of thing, like because they have bags and bags and bags of points.
Yeah.
because they smoke by the carton. They they had They had like a little deal every night at their house. They all both worked nights. One of them worked at M&M's, then one of them worked
Yeah.
like Alamo Steel. So like they would work overnight. So everybody, when they got off shift, would come to their house to play
Right.
pool, and they had like just a fridge full of beer and everything like that. So
sure.
they would have tons of people smoking cigarettes. So I would always go to, "Hey man, can I get your points off your cigarette? Hey, can
Yeah.
we get your points off
Yeah.
your cigarettes?"
It was a
We were
lot of
like
cool
10
stuff you
doing
could
that.
get, but it was
Yeah.
a lot of points too.
Lot
it was
of
a lot of
points.
smoking.
You had to smoke a lot to get the stuff, but I mean, people
Oh,
smoke
yeah.
anyway.
They're actually fairly cheap now since they made so many of them. You go on eBay and pick up a jacket for like $20 with
Oh,
Marlboro
sure.
logo on
yeah.
it.
I thought you were talking about cigarettes. Cigarettes are like $7 a
Oh, cigarettes?
pack
I don't know
now
how
or something.
people that like because cigarettes are generally, it's generally poor people that smoke cigarettes, and I don't know how people can afford $7 worth of cigarettes.
Well, a lot of people talk about they smoke a lot of the Indian cigarettes because
all
they're
the
like,
American
they're
Indian,
like $5.
American spirits,
Yeah, they're
well,
like
that
$5.
and then that's like smoking cardboard through
It
a
is.
straw, though.
It is rough. I was a camel guy, and
I
for
think
a while I
I think
smoked.
a lot of people smoke.
Remember the fat camels?
Oh, you talking about the wide camels?
Yeah.
I smoked those for a
I
little
smoked
while.
those for a while.
People
Just
smoke
try
those
them out.
jewels. Jewel
Yeah.
pods,
Oh, yeah, the
and
pods
I
and
think
stuff
a lot
now.
of people smoke that now.
They're a
you got
lot
the
cheaper
jewels.
too, I think.
Yeah.
So we're trying to kick it. Bobby doesn't understand and starts eating the patches, which is not great.
Nah, then they tell
like
him
a
to spit
dog.
it out. Yeah, he starts growling.
It's like from this point on, it's like there's a lot of dog references. It
Yeah.
goes back to like the beginning. Like,
Well, here comes Luann
Yeah.
with the
Yeah.
spray bottle again.
Yeah.
She's ready, and she's
Good boy. Here's your treat. Yeah.
She's very happy because she thinks she's made Hank kick it.
And during all of this, though, there's a storm kicking off outside.
There is.
Yeah.
which I think is like a kind of like alludes to the storm
I
that
agree.
they're in. They're in like they're battling in a storm right now
Yeah.
with each other, trying to get off these cigarettes.
Their
and stuff.
emotions.
It's cool.
Yeah, so they break in on Peggy because she's smoking and she's in the bathroom and they're like, can't you see I'm knitting?
Yeah, can't you
No,
see
you're
I'm
not knitting,
knitting? Yeah, I like that way she looks too. That's one of the screen caps I got to make some
she's
stuff
like-
for make some content for social media. So she's like sitting there like that, looking at it with the cigarette in her dangling out of her mouth, looking at him like, man, I can't believe you just walked in here.
Well, what's crazy is that these three go at each other's throats over one cigarette. You know, they have the whole thing about, I'll smoke it, you smoke it, he can smoke it if there's anything left. All of that, right? It gets to a crazy part where these three are at each other's throats. Over one
Absolutely.
damn cigarette.
Over one
Yeah.
cigarette.
They want it.
Oh, they want it bad.
Peggy ends up dropping it out the window, and it floats and it floats and it floats, and it ends up in the jail.
And the funny thing about this is a trivia. This is a bit of trivia for everybody here on this point. So if you go back and you look at that scene, when you first look at it, there's 4 beds. One bed is occupied by 2 guys, and there's 2 other beds, and one bed is empty. So when they hop out to fight, there's 2 dudes in the same bed together on that one.
Yeah, so
Little jailhouse love.
They basically they all go clean by just not smoking all night. Like that's what it takes. It's just one night. If you can get that through that one night, you'll never smoke again.
Never smoke again.
Yeah, but
No, it's not that easy.
in the cartoon world. That's the way it works.
cheap.
I wish it was that easy.
A lot cheaper.
A lot
for
cheaper. Yeah.
But they all sleep in the same bed. They get past it. The storm passes, and they go out, and it's just a beautiful day. However, it looks like there's been a tornado in their front yard.
Yeah, it looks bad. Yeah, everything's all ripped up and tore up. Yeah.
But they're talking about how just a beautiful day it is, and then Hank and Bobby start throwing around the flat football.
Or flat football. They're all happy. Like, it's funny because after all the storm and after the cigarette fighting and all that, they're just like as happy as clams out there throwing
whatever.
around a flat football.
Go deep.
Yeah, you go high, I'll go low.
And then we get the credits. That's it. It teaches a valuable lesson.
Yep.
And I'm a big fan of this episode, just simply because it is so different than some of the other ones. This is all internal fighting.
And it shows, like, it came out in 97 when you could still smoke everywhere. And I think it's cool that it challenged.
I remember them
challenged that.
times.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I remember the McDonald's ashtrays, the full ashtrays that you could they'd give you like while you're sitting there eating,
Sure.
you'd have an ashtray that was full and you could throw it away with your meal at the end of the deal.
Oh yeah. Yeah. They had you can go on eBay and buy some of those McDonald's ashtrays still.
That's
They
cool.
probably produced billions of them.
Oh,
I
I'm
imagine.
sure, yeah.
I imagine whenever they quit smoking, they still probably had 1000000000s of them made. They're probably just sitting in a warehouse ready to use because they were disposable like
There's
cups.
a guy with like 4 boxes of McDonald's ashtrays at that
Just somewhere,
just in the
Oh, yeah.
attic.
just in the attic.
There's
Yeah.
a warehouse full of them
somewhere. Yeah.
They're
Well,
like,
it was
oh yeah, it'll come back around.
It was like with video games. There was a thing that I was reading about where a guy had found an entire warehouse full of 90s and 2000s video
Yeah.
games.
Yeah.
And I mean like stacks and stacks of the same
that's
game
the
in
whole-
a huge warehouse.
That's the whole ET video game also for Atari 2600.
Oh yeah, when
You
they
know,
dumped it out in the
made
desert.
so
yeah.
many
Isn't
of
that
them.
the
They ended
worst
up dumping
game?
them.
Yeah.
Of all time?
That's
Yeah,
one of
that's
the
what they say, yeah.
considered one of the worst games of all time. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was trash as far as Atari goes. If you could even play an Atari.
Oh, it was rough. It was rough. So there's one thing I want to point out before we get to the credits. This episode is brought to you by Recess Cigarettes. This is the cigarettes. When Bobby looks out the window while he's at school, he sees a billboard for Recess Cigarettes.
Recess cigarettes, which is
With, like,
when
kids
That's
playing it.
hilarious.
we never smoked them at recess, but as soon as I hit high school and I could leave
Yeah.
campus for
Oh, yeah.
lunch,
Oh, yeah.
There's so
that's
many
all we
lessons
do.
in this episode. Like,
Oh yeah,
there's
that's
like
a good
old
one.
school, like this is what you should do, but it's kind of like making fun of that. Like
Oh,
this
yeah.
is really what we do.
Yeah. Oh, and that's the
I
thing
love
is
that.
like there's a lot of people that have that story where their dad bought a carton of cigarettes and
Yeah.
sat it down in
Oh,
front of them,
yeah.
and made them smoke till
Oh,
they were
sure.
sick.
For sure.
Yeah.
So we get to
before we get to the credits,
Yeah.
I got another bit of trivia. So there was actually a deleted scene that's not in this.
Oh
so,
yeah, you were telling me.
Whoa.
Yeah. So if you go back to
Bobby's fully naked.
well, I hope not. I wonder if he has an ass like Hank, no ass at all.
No ass. That's
So
right.
Bobby meets up with a bunch of anti-smoking kids who are all against squares, and
Squares.
they get him to go to a store to buy cigarettes.
Maybe
they're
they're just
like
straight edge.
straight edge. There
Yeah,
you go.
sure.
Well, squares, that's a cigarette. So yeah, they're straight. They're straight laced, straight edge. So they get Bobby to go into the store to see if the shop owner will sell him cigarettes to see if he's enforcing the rules. So the shop owner ends up selling Bobby the cigarettes, and then the kids start chasing Bobby when he runs out the door. So he runs out the door with the cigarettes, and they're like chasing him down.
Yeah.
That's on the deleted scenes on the
see.
season 1 DVD, which I gotta find. I want to buy the whole DVD set just so I can get all the deleted stuff.
What's crazy to me is that your hat has a camel on it.
It does.
It makes me think of.
I have a
smoking those
camel hat. I
camels.
have a blue camel
I
hat.
have a camel shirt.
I have a camel shirt.
Yeah,
I have
it has like a giant hole in it, like a
Like a
burn.
Joe Camel.
Yeah, a Joe Camel.
Yeah.
It's got the patch.
yeah. I have a yellow Joe Camel shirt, a pair of shorts, and then a hat. I have
That's
like
one of the
a
only.
whole kit.
That's one of the only advertising mascots that I can ever think of that the U.S. government got involved and told them they had to quit it.
It was so good. You know,
They
sometimes
did
when
good with
stuff
their
they were-
works.
advertisements.
Yeah, they said they were advertising to kids, and that's
Yeah. I
mean,
that's where it came from.
The
Well,
shirt
you
looks
know,
pretty cool.
Winston
I
had commercials.
a Sega Game Gear.
Yeah.
from
Well,
smoking.
Winston had commercials with the Flintstones back in the
Yeah.
day too.
Oh, yeah,
So
sure.
there was one specific commercial that I used in a class for advertising class, and it's
that was when they were still good for you, though.
yeah, it's when they were still good for you.
Your T-zone
Recommended
or
by
whatever, yeah.
9 out of 10 doctors.
That's
Yeah.
right, yeah.
So they
I like
were
how Hank says it.
do it.
He says that was back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So credits.
So
What you
we
got for
get to the credits, and this kind of like the one where Hank comes on and talks about the nudity. But this is Boomhauer telling us all about how we shouldn't smoke cigarettes.
Yeah, and he's standing out in front of his Dodge Charger, or is it Hank's truck?
Well, no, it's his Charger.
Yeah, it's his
because he
Charger.
shows you the air filter.
Yeah.
One of them is your lungs on air.
This is your lungs
and
on
then
air,
The
this
black
is your
one is
lungs
the
on
ones
smoke.
on smoke. Yeah. He says, see the difference, man, is stunt your growth all over. End up dang old hospital like Morton Downey Jr., like Robert Downey Jr., even worse, man. Y'all talk about oral gratification, all that thing. It's gonna give you a little sperm count, man. Give you ear hair. Yo, it just ain't good.
It just ain't no
Just ain't good.
And then a woman comes up and walks him off the.
Yeah. So a little bit more trivia. So
Yeah.
Jimmy Witchard, he gets his first appearance in this episode. He doesn't have a speaking part, but he's sitting at the
Jimmy
cigaretters.
Witchard, yep.
And he's the
the
guy
real
who runs the
shaky guy,
racetrack. He's the guy who runs the later on runs the
Oh,
concession
that's right.
stand.
That's right.
And Bobby's working for him, and his dad's telling him, "Hey man, you need to do what your boss tells you to do,
Yeah.
this and that." And it ends up that his boss is completely just not
Jimmy-
there at all.
Jimmy is the one that's always like, Jimmy said. That
Jimmy
guy,
said.
right?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And then some more stevia. So the specific writers that wrote this episode, a guy named Jonathan Collier and then Joe Stillman. So Joe Stillman actually had worked with Mike Judge for Beavis and Butthead TV
Oh, okay.
show,
Wow.
and he also did Doug and the Adventures of Pete and Pete.
Oh, wow.
But his claim to fame is Shrek 1 and 2. So he gets screenwriter credits for those, and then he actually gets a nomination for the Academy Award for Best Adapted Screenplay for Shrek. He got nominated for that, and then he did get a BAFTA for that, though. So
That's a damn good
like
resume right
For
there.
real.
The BAFTA is like the British version of the Academy Awards.
Yeah.
And then the other guy, Jonathan Collier.
You always got to work that English thing in, don't you?
Yeah. Always, I got to try to. Yeah. So the other guy worked with The Simpsons and he did King of the Hill, but he also after that he went on to do Monk and he executive produced a movie called Queer Duck. The movie.
Well, I don't know.
I don't know about that one either. I'm not gonna touch that.
Didn't watch.
Never
I'm
seen
actually
Queer
gonna
Duck.
watch it. So it says the film first aired on the Gay Theme Channel Logo on July 16,
I remember
2006.
Oh
Logo.
yeah, that channel.
Yeah.
I think E kind of absorbed that channel.
That's probably what happened with it. So I'm going to check that out. And then the writer was a guy named John Rice, who I could not find much about. So I guess he was probably just attached to King of the Hill for whatever he did in his career. So.
It is a well written episode by
Yeah, it
people
was.
by people you could tell were smokers at one time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, everybody. I mean, I feel like anybody that had anything to do with that episode that grew up in because everybody from here, they all probably were born in the '60s,
Sure.
late '50s.
Yeah.
So they're
Right,
all, they all grew up in an era where your mom and dad smoked, your grandma smoked, your grandpa smoked, your uncle, your aunts, your
Everybody.
cousins, everybody smoked.
Everybody.
Everybody smoked at that time. I mean, you had tabletop lighters that
Oh
sat on
yeah.
your table just so.
Well, like you
know,
say, if you can go to McDonald's and smoke, I mean,
It's just
Yeah.
crazy how it changed. Like now, like if you smoke inside anywhere, it's just like,
Oh, it's
Oh,
yeah.
it's
People
like-
flip out on you. I think the
Yeah.
only place
like
that you
you
can
killed
still
a kitten.
smoke in this county is Belmead, Texas. That's the only place that you can
Yeah.
still smoke in bars because they still let us smoke over there.
do they really?
Yeah, still smoking in some of those little bars on 77.
Lacey Lakeview,
Yeah,
Belmead,
Belmead, that little strip where all the bars used to be. The few remaining bars that are still on that strip allow
back on Old
smoking.
Dallas Highway.
Yep, on the highway.
Yeah.
They all still smoke.
Oh, can you smoke inside Fridays?
I've been to Fridays where you could smoke in there. Like when I think of smoking in a restaurant, that's what I think.
Really?
Of. Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember Fridays when it
Fridays is
was
so-
Hillbilly Heaven.
it is. It's food's good.
Yeah, food's good. I
Food's
remember
good.
when
It was called Hillbilly
There
Heaven?
was a bar there. It used to be a bar back
Oh,
in
wow.
the. See, because I grew up like right there on in that area,
Right.
and there used to be a bar called Hillbilly Heaven. It was there for I don't know. Late 90s, early 2000s, but
Wow.
all those bars have changed names and people for
I feel like that was the
so
restaurant's
long.
nickname.
Yeah.
The restaurant was
There's-
basically
Hillbilly
Hillbilly
Well,
Heaven, like
there's
you
just-
know.
There's so many little weird nondescript buildings back there on Old Dallas Highway.
Yeah.
too,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
for sure.
I think the
You
longest
don't know
one.
what's going on in
You
some
know,
of those.
my content career started on that street.
Did it?
Like we used to, me, the guy that started the Summer Bash, Don J, and like a few more other people, we would drive in a van. We love Jackass, so we would drive in a van and throw eggs. There would be a lot of prostitutes on that street, so we would throw eggs
So
at
eggs
them,
and prostitutes.
and we would
This
film
story
it.
did not go where I thought it was going to go.
That's where I started making content. Is
Egg
on
throwing
that
at
street because it
prostitutes.
was
Eggs
so
and prostitutes.
sketchy.
Yeah.
it's
And
sketchy.
you know what I
yeah.
mean? And back then, you know, at that time,
yeah.
you know, I'm not gonna say my age, but
Yeah.
back that time, it was real sketchy.
Oh,
So
yeah. It was
like,
rough.
It was edgy.
there was eggs being thrown out there, and I don't know who did it, but you know, we was filming it. It
my goodness,
could have looked
yeah.
like me, possibly.
Yeah,
I don't know.
that's awesome.
So you got anything you want to plug before we wrap it up? I know you got some stuff going on.
Yeah, I'm
Give your full like creator name.
yeah, my name is Giovanni the King. I'm a videographer, rap. This guy came up to me and said by self place. He's like, hey, sometimes to follow me. He's like, hey, he knew my whole thing. He's like, I rap and shoot videos basically. I said, I guess I should just start saying that because that's
Yeah,
basically
that's what you do. You
that's
rap and shoot
basic-
videos. Yeah.
I basically rap and shoot videos. But yeah, I got an EP coming out on my Friday. Bill Me to the World.
Bail Me to the World
Yeah,
on Friday.
I got an
okay.
EP coming out with E Cross.
Okay.
I mean, actually, it's like a full album. I think 12 songs.
Oh, awesome.
So yeah, we got an album coming out. So I don't know when y'all hearing this, but it might be out now. So
Give the
Just-
name of it one more time.
just type in Bell Mead. So the cool thing about it is if you search up anything on streaming sites, Bell Mead, nothing pops up.
BELLMEAD.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So nothing pops up. So
But
there's
Geo.
nothing that exists. No, not at all.
oh, not at all.
I don't think my old song Bell Mead Rich was even on there. So on streaming
I
sites,
remember
it's
that.
not even on there. It went pretty viral. The
I remember Belmead.
people
Rich.
like that was it was pretty funny because it was like nobody's rich in Bell Mead. So it was.
You don't have to be rich in Bell Mead
Yeah,
to
it was
have
like,
money.
you don't
if you
need
make
$1
$30,000 a
million,
year, you're probably doing good if you're in
You're
Bell
doing
Mead.
great.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
You can live over the railroad tracks. You
Yeah.
don't have to live before them.
You know
Nah,
what
yeah.
I mean? You could have a double
Sorry.
wide and be great.
Oh,
you
be
know what I
great,
mean?
yeah.
Once we moved into a double wide, we was like, hey, we made it. That was like my
made
childhood
it.
growing up. Like,
My,
yeah, we
uh,
made
we got
it.
a double wide
My-
now. Okay,
Yeah.
we're cool.
My first wife was from Belmead.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's why she's your first wife.
you got that.
I left her in Bell Mead.
Yeah, left her in Bell
Close,
Mead.
Pretty close. Yeah,
Smart man.
yeah. Spent a lot of time in Belmead.
I'm sorry.
I
have
still
too,
do.
actually.
I love
I
it
live
there.
so.
Even when I lived in the city, I would come to Bell Mead and
Yeah.
just drive around and smoke, not cigarettes. But
Yeah, I
would,
got you. Sure.
You know,
You're giving away a lot of information here. You're throwing eggs and smoking. You know. I'm
yeah,
just
you
saying,
know,
that's
I'm
a
doing
lot of-
bad stuff in Bell Mead. Like I tried to, try
Just
to do
a
some
product
nice
of his
thi-
environment.
Belmead, I
Yeah.
will say, Belmead and Lacey
cleaned it
Lakeview
up.
do they have cleaned up a
We've
bit.
cleaned up a
but
lot.
They're doing
but
a lot.
you drive that back road, that Old Dallas Highway, you want to do bad things.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
I mean,
for
it's
sure.
just that kind of
It's
area.
that kind of highway.
Now over there, no, for sure.
Lots
It-
of-
it-
lots
it's
It's
of
been
about to
going
change,
down.
though. It's about to change. So
Oh, yeah, when the highway gets
shout
all
out,
connected.
well, not even the highway. Shout out to Papa Bears and stuff because they're
Yeah.
supposed to be getting a physical location right there, right next to the Maisonette Construction, I think is what it's called.
Oh, wow, yeah.
That wooded area right there where they have that sign.
Mm-hmm.
They've already.
I hope the people in the rest of the country really enjoy this.
Yeah, I
Where
hope
we're
they do
talking
too.
about
Yeah,
the thing
we're-
right
this
next
is
to
a
the
really
Maisonette
niche-
construction. That's right.
I have a Bell Mead hat on right now, so this is a real Bell Mead.
But they're building like a shopping center out there or whatever for.
I guess
They were supposed to build a baseball stadium.
the moral of the
Yeah,
story
supposed
is
to.
Bell Mead is just like King of the Hill. Like if
Bell
you-
Mead is a
like
lot
that's
like-
why I like
yeah.
I like the show, and I'm Puerto Rican, so you know, like I related to the show more than other shows. It sounds weird, you know what I mean? Like, but I lived in that environment.
It's
you know what I
somebody
mean?
you know.
Like,
Yeah, it's
all of
people you
that-
know.
oh,
Such a
really?
relatable show.
It's super relatable because that's literally how our people
are.
talk.
Yeah,
you know
that's
what I mean?
literally the
And,
people that we know
like
are
people
around.
really would talk like Boomhauer. You know what I'm saying? Like in Bell Mead. Like
Oh,
that's,
yeah.
My
that
dad
that
has a
wasn't
friend,
like
matter of fact, that when he gets drunk, he doesn't sound like that sober, but when he gets drunk, like it's almost like Boomhauer.
no, seriously. And then like people probably think like in other parts of the country, like that's like just made up. Like no, that's like a
No, those are real people.
That's a real
Yeah,
people.
that's what
from-
somebody asked me about King of the Hill. They were like,
I mean, they're
is it like The
amalgamations of a
Simpsons?
bunch
Yeah,
of
yeah, no,
people,
no, no.
but
They did a good
still,
job on
yeah.
that, but no, that's really.
Well, I was talking to somebody who'd never even watched King of
Yeah.
the Hill, who's in their like almost 40s, and
It's
I was
nothing.
asking them about. They were asking me about it, and they were like, "Was it like The Simpsons?" And I was like, "I mean, it's a family, but it's not like The Simpsons at all." I said, "It's I think it's truly Southern. Like it's not meant for anybody but the
Yeah,
South. Everybody else enjoys it. Like even Japan. Japan has
Yeah.
they have
No,
like
it's worldwide.
yeah, like how
no.
like some people that like anime argue about Japanese and English versions of it, or like dubbed and subbed they call it. Over there, they argue about King of the Hill being, actually
Wow.
listen to it in English or listen to the dubbed version of Japanese.
Wow.
So that's a huge thing in
Well,
Japan.
I have
yeah.
a friend.
Extremely
I have a
huge.
friend from Japan, and he like loves American culture, and
Yeah.
like he's so big on it. Like he raps in Japanese. Like you know what I mean?
Oh,
we, have
that's
we have a
cool.
song coming out.
Oh, so
Really?
that's
Yeah.
awesome.
His name's
Yeah,
Lil
yeah.
Sauce White. He signed to Sauce Walker.
Okay.
So he's he's gonna be a really big artist.
Yeah.
Like, but he like when I say he loves the culture, like they watch our culture like we watch theirs, and just how it's Dragon
No, I
Ball
believe
Z.
it. Yeah,
like,
I believe it. Well, that's the
It's
thing
crazy
is
to
this,
think like that.
Yeah.
Like you know what I
Yeah.
mean? That's crazy.
It is weird to like get out of your comfort zone and start
Yeah.
thinking about the way other people consume this stuff.
yeah, it is. Well, that's the whole point of it is
Yeah,
reaching everybody
absolutely.
out there and seeing what makes why they like it, and compare it into relation to us and how
So
we
if y'all
like
are
it.
listening worldwide, I'm sorry for all the Bell Mead references because
Yeah,
y'all
you ain't
have
gonna
no clue
Just
what's
Google
going
Bell Mead.
on.
You know
And
what,
you'll
Gio?
see.
Here's the thing: everybody's got a Bell Mead near them.
Oh, I'm
You
sure.
know what I mean?
Yeah,
Everybody's
everybody's got a Bell Mead near them for
Yeah.
sure. Any small town with 10,000 people in it's
Yeah.
gonna be similar to Bell Mead.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I enjoyed this. It was a lot of fun.
Me
Yeah,
too.
it was great.
Thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, I
Great
appreciate you.
episode.
Thanks, man.
Yeah,
Great
we enjoyed it.
podcast.
You want to give our social?
Yeah, so we've created socials. We've got a TikTok, a Twitter, and now Instagram. So you can check us out at BWAAAKOTH.
You need to check that out with Rusty screaming at a dog.
Oh yeah, I did a duo with
Yeah.
a dog on there.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that.
Yeah,
That
it was
a
pretty
good one.
funny. Yeah, it's pretty good.
When y'all turn up like this, you both kind of look the
Yeah,
same.
we almost look the same. Yeah, except for I have a lower jaw. The dog didn't.
Well, guys, join us next time. We will be moving on to the penultimate episode.
Episode 11.
It's the one right before the last one.
Yep, we're almost at the end of season 1, guys.
Yeah.
And look out for some information about an event. If we're gonna try to run an
Yeah.
event at the very end.
We're thinking Boggle tournament.
We're gonna try to do a boggle tournament for. We're gonna call it the triannual
Triannual
tri-county boggle off or
I'd
whatever. I
love
don't
to
know.
win that.
Well, you
Very
could enter
competitive.
It would be
I'd
fun.
You
love
could
to
enter
win
it.
that.
Yeah, you could
Yeah.
enter it. We're gonna. We
just
don't
gotta-
really have the details of it yet, but we're gonna have.
Well, we got to buy some Boggle sets.
Yeah, we gotta get some
first.
boggle sets, but we're gonna have however many people sign up, and then we're just gonna run like a tournament style.
Yeah.
You know,
See,
kinda
I don't
deal,
know what
see
it
who
is,
wins.
but I love to sign up for things I don't know
There you go.
because then I'll lose, and then I'll just blame it on that.
Yeah, there
Yeah.
you go. Oh, I didn't
Yeah.
know.
I
What
got
I
a
was
know what
doing.
it
great
was. Sure.
excuse.
Yeah, I didn't know what I was doing.
I didn't know what I was doing. I just messed up on accident.
All right, and you can also check us out at roguemedianetwork.com, and we will see you next time.
Wimatanye.
Wematanya.
This has been a Rogue Media podcast.